Okay, change of hat, but only because I'd forgotten the wide brim one, as my face in the shade too much. And I'm proud of my face today because it's like I had a great 8 hours sleep, good walk yesterday, that's all that matters. So you're looking okay. Right, this is part 3 because you see it's all like a fable, but I have to rewrite the fables. I got a fantastic memory. Get up in the morning and I map out the progress of just a side occupation at the moment to how do I get a video up, blah blah blah. So in my head it's like, remember, the camera's full up with bloody film. I haven't got any backup, anywhere to back it up. Oh, he's coming back. Right. So it's like, okay, I've got to do this, I've got to remember to take a film off that I put on YouTube. So it's all in the head. There's too much to put really right down easily. So all the flow is kind of put down, but then when you have the C2s and below, they like invade your space with their gawping stares. Now I'm kind of immune to it. This didn't happen before 2020. I used to sit around in my little mobile office for days at times. Nobody would put their head into your space. But now everybody does it. C2s and below. And also you go to the library and you get continually, it's not possible to keep your project in your head. And I had to remember to take some film off the camera, which I'd forgotten to do. Right, but I remember exactly where I was. So, Chappie, despite being English, couldn't exactly speak brilliant English. Slightly worrying, that's what's happened in this country. And this is 7 or 8 years ago. Anyway, I had to go back a few weeks later for, I don't know, what was it, a repeat or something? And I saw the doctor that time, who basically said, you've been given a dose which is dangerous. Actually dangerous. Whoever it was, the nurse person, had given the wrong dose. At which point I just stopped. That's it. Sorry. The one, except for a few years of my weird multi-attack on my body, the one time you go to the doctor in about 30 years for something, they actually nearly damage you. But guess what? In theory, my life is more put upon and not very good than ever before, having no roof for a year and a half. My nails have cleared, except for one thing. Like this one stays fungusy. And I just laugh at it. It's like my elephant man toenail. I was offered, go and have an operation, just get your toenail pulled off and that will probably sort it out. I don't care. Anyway, I believe in something more than the material. Oh, there are various ways of putting it. Just the simple, straightforward, materialist reality. I enjoy thinking about what the deal, what it may be, but I know you can't know. And I don't like this latter day, oh, we're all just in a hologram. There's something very, very, it's almost like Buddhism. That means we don't have to do anything. That means we have no responsibility. I'm living my life. I don't want to be making a video. I actually don't feel, if I've made a video, I don't feel wonderful. Doesn't enhance me. And I never, ever, ever, ever look at views or stats. Might have done 10 years ago, but not anymore. No, I don't care. I want to share, if for nobody else, my daughter in 10 years' time sees, Dad was alright, he's reasonably intelligent. I mean, although I'm afraid to say Britain is just so intellectually devoid in that all sorts of smart Alex, particularly your kind of type 2 Tom Pauls, they believe in genetics. I've studied genetics, and latterly, correctly, it's all coming through. Oh, we've got type 2. We've got somebody gawping at C2 or below. Just because someone's got a camera. I mean, cameras have been around for years. Anyway, to the point. Yeah. Human systems are far more complicated than just what's at the level of the gene. But you'll still hear people say, oh, your mother's schizophrenia may run in the family. All these kinds of things. It's tragic, because that is poison thinking. If you say that in a kid's earshot, and I heard it 4 months ago from somebody I knew, you're hurting them. It's actually a kind of abuse. It's completely scientifically untrue. Right. Yes. Mind, body, soul, etc., etc. I had a terrible thing happen to me. And I'll just start this by saying, yeah, it's like the C2s and below, they just, particularly the younger ones, they just come and park and sit in their van or their vehicle for hours. It's just, they don't go for walks. Anyway, it's irrelevant. I have no interest in where I am, except there are some extraordinarily miserable people. They don't quite have the latent violence of my last region. The end of this story I shall put in first, very quickly. It's not a story, this is Britain. And it's absolutely tragic. I've been told many times by clearly alright, balanced, not alcoholic, not druggy men that similar things have happened to them. But I think mine's probably the most extreme conceivable example of a terrible use of law. So these laws, the you can't say that laws, which of course have all been turned into clever sounding phrases like harassment, sexual harassment, this, that and the other, and then we have this whole new, the reason to leave Britain. I doubt many other countries have got your, anybody can be done for coercion. If you love somebody, you do tough love, you challenge them, you bolster them. That can be construed. If 5 years later somebody doesn't like you anymore, that can be twisted round to, oh, they're guilty of coercion. It's terrifying being anywhere near. The funny thing is that I saw a policewoman, age about 31. It just popped up on when I Google searched, don't know why, was done for serious coercion of her love partner. But once somebody puts one of these things against you into the system, which, be crystal clear, these are a personal choice. Although I think the first time it happened to me, it may well have been encouraged by somebody in authority. But once that's in the system, then it's like, you're marked. That's who you are. And that becomes evil. That's Stalinist. Anyway. It's laughable. So people Google you and like, you're this. The first time that ever happened to me, and amusingly, there was an episode a few months later, which was, I should have sued the government, but I didn't do that. Anyway, so December 2017, I'm going to put the end of this first. It is extremely unusual, in fact I'd say probably almost unheard of. Well, I was told by a very experienced court clerk in June 2018. he'd never encountered this before. In fact, that was part of the story. I was in the magistrate's court following a summons, and when I arrived there, I wasn't on the list at the security. Weird. And they're a bit kind of, because they're bottom of the pile, oh, must have been admin error, oh well, blah blah blah, search you up you go. Then you go and check in with the clerk, who's like, you're not on any list. Show him my piece of paper. Now, that when you see an experienced, he clearly had been working there many years, it's like, something really weird is the system has broken down. We have somebody who's got a summons and isn't on our list. I mean, that's like, he didn't actually say the words, but clearly it's like he hadn't encountered it before. Anyway, so I was sitting there stewing for an hour or two. In fact, though, I'd shut my head off to the whole thing for several months. I'm like, oh, fucking hell. If they really hate you, and this has happened to me before, if the system really hates you, and like, for example, in Wales, the thing they hate more than anything is an Englishman who successfully has stood up for his rights. Oh no, that is the ultimate hate crime in Wales. Anyway, they leave you to the end of the day, so you got to stew there all day. Jeez, and so I'm sitting there, like, court opens at 10 o'clock, 5 to 10. And the clerk couldn't find anything. He checks his records or whatever, or phones whoever he has to phone. Never came back to me. And I could see him strutting around. And he's like, his body language was, what's happened? My system, it's not working. Anyway, so just a few minutes to official opening time, my name comes over the tannoy, and I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm going to be sat here all day. Just resigned to it. The magistrates, I think there were 3 of them, put me in and they say, don't go and sit in the glass cubicle, which is where the accused sits. You are not on trial. Sit here, just by us. And basically, they apologised. And as far as they ever can, said, the system at some level has thrown this out as the most disgusting fucking piece of evil they've ever seen. They were very friendly and nice to me, and the prosecutor man was there, and he was like, well, you know. Anyway, so that's the end of the story. Can you imagine how you would feel? So 6 months earlier, I got my daughter, who I'm probably not going to get time to do this properly, but I've got to go through this so quickly. So for 3 years, three years prior, 2015, she'd engaged with me out of the blue. And basically there'd been 3 years of hell. I think she'd been nudged by somebody, engaged with him, and then cut off after 2 months. In fact, I don't think like that. But a female friend of mine, after a few years, said, I think she's doing this, and it's probably even she's been coerced to by somebody to cause maximum. I mean, the acting was brilliant. First time we engaged, she was about 16. We had a drink. We went to a pub for lunch. I even had a friend of mine come and pop by a bit later. That was staged. But it's like 16-year-old, wonderful young woman. He was, Dad, I want a drink. I want a half of beer. Okay. Technically illegal. I don't know if it's illegal, whatever. Yeah, a super fantastic new person, grown up, 16. Anyway, never a problem word over 3 years. But she would engage for a little while, and we'd make a next plan, and then go silent for 6 months or whatever. Not reply to anything. Probably designed to torture me, but not from her. Nudged by somebody else. I can never know the truth. Thus, the way I've just put that, it's like, that's my bodily knowing, I can never know the truth. With difficulties in families, the first thing you've got to learn, you can never second guess. And the internet's made this 1,000 times worse. Why I would never engage with anybody who I'm not quite exactly in good terms with. you don't. It's craziness to engage with anybody on the internet who you're not on solid terms with, because everybody second guesses. That's what happened. I would counsel people against this 15 years ago. Don't. Everybody does it. Second guesses. So, anyway, 3 years of that. And then the kind of end phase is re-engaged, and I had some money at home. She's going off on her gap year. I have to go through this so quickly. Going off on her gap year, we'd engaged a bit, but we hadn't. The money, I had hardly any money because I'd had my 3-year very bad illness. Like, collected together the last 500 quid. It was there on my kitchen for 6 months, unpicked up. And she'd phone me about a week before she went off, or 3 or 4 days before she went off, blah, blah, blah. And I'd said to her, look. Anyway, a couple of bad things happened on her trips. And it's like, wow. She emailed me, or rather answered an email. It's like, wow. For the first time she's communicating, really like an adult. It's like we're free. She'd had 2 very bad shocks. Anyway, I thought a week or 2 later, although it had always been in the back of my mind, it'd be great to rendezvous with her. Here I am, I'm probably going to be dead, seriously, no melodrama, because I had this 3-year terrible lurgy. I'm going to see her again. I'm just going to try and rendezvous with her, trick her into a rendezvous somewhere. Anyway, long story short, that actually happened. And it was wonderful. Anyway, she was with somebody who's probably part of the Operation Destroy, Shock and Awe damage, because 6 or 7 years earlier, an email had come to me, made up with a made-up name implying my daughter hated me so much that she was changing her surname. Now, it transpired that was a faked email. I don't think it was my daughter. More than likely it was somebody else in her step-family. I can't say that for certain, so that is not an allegation. I don't know. More than likely. Anyway, so we have a day together, and for the first time, it's like that evening. I don't drink, but I was so exhausted. When I say I don't drink, I literally have a drink every couple of years. I was so exhausted from 3 nights no sleep travelling. In fact, I had a few drinks and got a bit merry. It was alright. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The detail doesn't matter. It was no better or no worse to spend 24 hours with your kid on the other side of the world. But we were in a magnificent place. On that day, she was in really good energy and sort of quite seemed to enjoy showing me around. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. I think she had influence from Mission Control, in other words, the step family member she was travelling with, which was very strange for a 19-year-old on her gap year, rather than travelling with her own age group, or back at Mission Control. Irrelevant. I don't care. But then, so over the next month, she told me, A, she'd run out of money, and she'd been getting bits of money. She'd run out of money, so like, she left. She decided, we both had a few drinks, and she woke up with a sore head. So did I. But it's alright, it's just part of life. Now and again, for the once only in your adult life, have a few drinks with your only child. Completely natural thing. And that might not go brilliantly. It didn't go brilliantly, but there you go. Anyway, so she tells me they've got to travel on, which no, they were going to travel on. They had a connection to me. Anyway, so over the next month, a few emails, like, well, you said you needed money. If you're coming back at this point, I can arrange for 3 days' work for you. I mean, she said she'd no money left, spent all her money. Anyway, never answered anything. 3 months later, a knock on the door. Weird, they're well known as absolutely insane Paris police. Got a recording of it. So when strangers come to my door, I used to leave my recorder on. You're under arrest. for harassing your daughter. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ. Talk about... Anyway. It's funny. You know, it wasn't funny, it was tragic. It's like, but how stupid. Like, you've gone... they don't have any jurisdiction outside this country. You've gone to a foreign country. Now, tell me what happened in this foreign country. I mean, there's no jurisdiction. I mean, apart from anything else. And then a few emails. And I didn't. I said, this is so absurd, I'm not getting a lawyer. I didn't. Proud. That's a kind of quite a good proud moment now. But I spoke to one I knew who was just insane also a bit later. And the most important thing is we got it transferred to the county that I lived in, which wasn't Wales. And I had to be rearrested. And when I went to be rearrested, it was hilarious. It was by phone, we arranged it. The desk sergeant, I still remember his name, I can't remember it just a second. He actually, as I came in, well, I've never seen anything like this. He was so nice to me. But anyway, the lawyer, a few weeks after the arrest, a week after the arrest,